Typecast Heroes, where we believe typology can save the world. I'm Amanda Fogelson. And I'm Justin Miller, and today we are continuing our series on how each of the cognitive functions presents in each of the positions of the cognitive stack. Now, if you are coming back to our channel and you are somebody who watches us, you already know what I'm about to say. However, if you are new to our channel, we have a lot of resources on the page. We have MBTI for beginners. We have a playlist for every single type. We have a playlist for all of the cognitive functions. So you can go learn everything you want to over there if you do not understand one of the terms, and you are always free to reach out and we will contact you and answer all your questions because I literally do that all day. So having said that, today's video is extroverted thinking as it presents in the auxiliary or parent position, which is for the ISTJs and the INTJs. So in the beginning of every video, we have stated since the beginning of time, and we will until the end of time, that anyone can be anything. And while we stand by that, and it is absolutely true, we truly believe in that, these particular videos, this series of videos that we're talking about, we're really trying to focus on the specific consistencies that we see with the two types who use TE in the parent position. So that being said, we're going to go over some examples and over certain behaviors that we have seen time and time again. But the important thing to remember, the important thing to focus on, the important thing to take away from this video is to really see the motivation behind the behavior. That is what drives the functions. That's what drives all this. So that is the takeaway. If there's anything today, that's the takeaway. Something else to remember, one more warning, and then we'll get into the content. But Carl Jung talks about ideal type development, and then it is furthered in Mark Hunsaker and John Beebe's work, and it's ideal average. So yes, you as an ISTJ or INTJ, or the ISTJ and INTJ in your life that you're watching this video for, may develop differently. If you are young in your 20s or early 20s or in your teens, you may not have hit this point yet. If you are in the middle of your life, you may have already overcome this. So you need to keep that in mind as we go through all of the examples. Personalities evolve. They don't change. So the parent function we call as the compulsion. The parent function is the one that you feel like you should do. So for the ISTJ and the INTJ, they are introverted. So for them, extroverted thinking is an extroverted function. Extroverted thinking is when you are concerned with regulating, enforcing, and strategizing with the environment around you and all of the logic around you. It is bringing forth a logical system and pushing it onto the external environment. So it is, again, it's outside of the user. It's outside of the INTJ or the ISTJ. And the reason that we have this function is so we can remain balanced, because the INTJ and the ISTJ both have a tendency to want to stay introverted. They want to stay inside their minds. They want to stay to themselves, and actions are challenging for them, or they can be. So they have that parent function, and it provides them with those should statements, like I should go out into the world and do something. And then when you do, you feel really good about it. It's like, I should handle things this way. I should be more efficient. I should be more effective. I should be out doing all of the things. Because one of the fears is they will have a tendency to jump from their introverted perceiving function, so introverted sensing for INTJ, introverted intuition for INTJ, and they'll jump down into their third function, which is introverted feeling. And they'll completely skip over that extroverted thinking process. When they're looping like this, they don't get a whole lot done. And they get kind of stuck in analysis paralysis where they don't want to extrovert like they should. So what extroverted thinking does is it tends to be that kind of nagging parent in their ear, and it's like, no, get up, we got to go do this, we've got to go do work, we've got to get things done, we've got to figure stuff out, we've got to bring forth some of our visions into the real world. And when the parent is pulling on them, we have a tendency to project these things onto others. So for the ISTJ and the INTJ, their parent is the extroverted thinking process because it acts like that within themselves, but it's also how they're going to project it onto everybody around them. And so when they are in a position where they are caring for someone or they are trying to nurture somebody, they're going to try to TE it, extroverted thinking it. And they're going to push that onto the person like, you need to be more effective. You need to be more efficient. You need to adhere to this system. And it can make them, if it's somebody that they really care about, come across as really bossy. or come across as kind of aggressive because they're trying to encourage them to use that extroverted thinking process. So the number one thing I think of in this situation is actually, hopefully not cross the line, is actually Jessie's marriage, because her husband has a TE parent. So a lot of times what that looks like is maybe he is telling her to organize her stuff or kind of get her crap together or something. And then sometimes it gets to the point where he's like, I'm just going to do it. And so a lot of times that can be kind of like that nagging parent who cleaned up your room while you were at school one day because you never cleaned up your room. Like that exact example. Yeah, that exact example could happen. But at the same time, they can be coming from a really good, just like a parent, they're really trying to come from a good place. It's a good heart that they have. And what they're trying to do is, in their mind, make your life easier. They're trying to let you have a structure and say, hey, if you did it this way, then this, and this would be a lot easier. You wouldn't lose this. You wouldn't do this, you know. It wouldn't be so chaotic in your life or anything like that. So it comes from a good place, but sometimes because of, for one, it's an uncomfortable one because it is the opposite attitude of what they are. And I really believe that sometimes introverts who are using that extroverted parent function, it can look sometimes even more aggressive than using it as like a hero function because you're so comfortable there, whereas you're a little bit uncomfortable here. So, and again, it's that compulsion. It's something that you're kind of like propelled forward to do. So you may have a little bit more energy with it, energy going into it and using it, which can look somewhat aggressive sometimes.
That's completely accurate.
And so,
yes, that is completely my life. And he means well because he wants to take care of us and do well. And I lose my keys at least 15 times a week. So if I would just follow his system, I wouldn't lose anything. But
I think we're on month 4 of her losing her glasses.
Yeah, I don't know where they are, guys.
If you watched any of our past videos, I've said this before, she's still lost them. Have not found them.
No, when I need them, I can't see them. Okay, so, I mean, I'm not perfect, guys. It is what it is.
Okay, so moving on. They can also project this parent onto others in the sense that if it is someone that the ISTJ or INTJ looks up to, they can assume, because the parent function is the one that kind of acts responsible within them, they can assume that the person that they look up to is also using extroverted thinking. And that can be very confusing for the person because when they are projecting this onto somebody, let's say they're projecting it onto a person who uses introverted thinking. The ISTJ or INTJ can assume that the INTP, for instance, is keeping in mind all of the effectiveness that the ISTJ and the INTJ are. And that it can come as a shock and almost make them feel let down if the INTP is not as efficient as the ISTJ or INTJ thought. So you have to keep that in mind when you are looking at your expectations of someone that you really look up to, because it can be kind of disappointing, and it's also just not reality. That's part of what Carl Jung wanted us to do with his psychology, is to get rid of our complexes and get rid of our projections. And the first step is knowing you have them. And it's not fair to that person, because if they end up letting you down because of what you thought they were, they never led you to believe that. You believed that. And it's something that we all do. Everybody does this with their parent function. They believe that the people that they admire, or they have a tendency to believe that people that they admire are using that function, and they're not. Not always, anyway. So some of the other struggles with that parent extroverted thinking, they can be almost hypercritical of people who are not efficient. They can be overly critical and overly encouraging, but they can also be really helpful too, like encouraging in a good way, in trying to encourage people to get it together, to make their systems a little better, to be a little more organized, and can it be a really positive thing. So society needs people, ISTJs and INTJs, with healthy parent Ts, because they can show us how to do it better. They can show us how to be more efficient, more effective, and they can really teach us as a society to kind of step up and to get it done in positive ways. So we need them to be the best they can be so that they continue to make the world a better place. And how do we get there? A little bit of personal growth for the ISTJs and INTJs.
One of the number one things that I'll always say about that we'll always say about the parent function is that it is so easy to skip over it. Don't do that. So for the ISTJs and INTJs, you guys have FI as your child function, which go watch that video if you haven't already. But FI in the child function oftentimes can look like, I don't want to do this right now because I just don't feel like doing this right now. And it can kind of, stomp its feet. And sorry, I'm boring, I guess.
No, I'm sorry. I tried so hard, guys. It can stomp its feet. I'm sorry.
It can stomp its feet sometimes and just kind of put its foot down and be like, no, I don't want to do that. The parent, what it's supposed to do is say, hey, listen, child, I know you don't want to do this right now, but we should do this right now because it is what needs to happen. It's what should happen. And this is the most efficient way to go about your day. This needs to happen now. And so it will pull you up. And a lot of times we want to fight that compulsion because, again, it makes us uncomfortable. It's an opposite attitude. It's not as much fun. It's all of the things. There's so many different reasons, but I would encourage you to listen to that TE, listen to it, pull you up, and let it happen. Lean into it. You guys can oftentimes use TE and FI equally as well because they are your second and third functions. But again, sometimes in maybe stressful situations, it feels really good to completely ignore it. But oftentimes that's what's going to get you out of your stressful situation. So just encourage you not to skip over that second function. It's so important. And again, all types can do this. So for you guys in particular, we need your TE. The world needs your TE. So lean into it and come at us with it. Because being a human is hard. And hopefully this makes it just a little bit easier. Thank you for watching our channel. Go like, subscribe, what else? Comment, share, all the things. Also, if you don't know much about TCH, if this is your very first video, first time watching us, welcome. We're so happy you're here. But go watch our Welcome to Typecast Heroes video. It's our very first one. Be easy on us about it because it's really, really bad. But it at least gives you a really good overview of what TCH is, where we came from and where we want to go and what this project is all about. So if you're an ISTJ or INTJ that has not interviewed with Jessie, please leave a comment below or message us on Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, or Discord and get you set up.
It's fun. Super quick.
Super quick, depending on you.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys for support. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's gather around the type fire and sing our type fire song. Our MBTITYPOLOGY song. And if you feel uncomfortable, then know there's nothing wrong.